Okay, live again. Peace, everyone. Hopefully, you're all doing well. This is Master Menelec once again, just coming through with another sketching session, right? So, welcome to those of you who are just coming through. Welcome back to those of you who are familiar with what's going on here. So, for those of you who are kind of new, this is basically my workshop hours. So while I'm studying and working through different concepts and I'm working on different projects, I just open up the space to anyone who would be interested in seeing. And it helps to keep me accountable as well to make sure I don't slack off with my artistic studies, right? And lately, I've just been getting into some of the elements of art, going back to my foundations and strengthening them. Um, for those of you who are familiar with it, oh, peace on the radio. For those of you who are familiar with what I've been doing here in the past couple of months, I've been going through the Heroes series, right? So different heroes that would have shown up on our community calendar in Anu. We've put together a list of heroes who sort of exemplify or embody some of the traits that we aspire to, whether it's being studious or being someone who is an embodiment of the Most High, someone who is brotherly, someone who's industrious, someone who's um, emotionally mature, someone who protects their people, so on and so forth. But without further ado, we've been going through the first element of art, which is basic building block lines, right? Lines are super important because lines help us to understand the relationships between things, and it helps us to connect the dots, right? That old saying. So we've been going over a couple of different types of lines, whether they're horizontal, vertical, curved, diagonal. Um, I wanted to get into some of the functions of lines, like some of the things that we can use them for a little bit more. And I also wanted to get into certain geometric um, things that we can look into as well in terms of lines, like the X and Y axis, connecting 2 points, looking at different angles, so on and so forth. So without further ado, I'm going to start. But I also, the link to join is going to be placed in the chat. So anyone who wants to join in, it's going to be right there for you. All right. But without further ado, I'll start with my warm ups, and then we can get into some more technical stuff. All right. So I had outlined a few drawing drills that we can go over, and this is the first one. First one will be simple. Let's say 20. Drawing 20 of each line. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just there to help you, loosen up the wrist. So these are vertical lines, and as you can see, they're already wobbly. And I've been doing some studies into different YouTubers who go over the basics of lines as well. There are a couple. One of them is Proco, he actually has a course, and it's a part of his course, but it was part of the freemium aspect of it. So it's part of the free portion of his course. And then there's another brother by the name of Alfonso Dunn, who I actually just discovered him, but he's very good at explaining the technicality of lines too, and a lot of the concepts that I've been we're going to be discussing tonight have come from those two primarily, in terms of some of the things that they've taught and the content that they put out. So definitely shout out to them. Um, yeah, their links are going to be in the description below. So again, just practicing making very quick, decisive lines. I'm trying to imagine 2 points in my head. Who was it? Imanaya. Imanaya was there with me last time. She had joined in the live, and she had joined in for the next drill, which I'm gonna go through in a minute. It looks like my curve game needs some help. I've also been looking into concepts of just deliberate practice. I found the concept pretty fascinating. I forgot the gentleman's name. He wrote a book called Peak, and it was just studying the concept of doing the C curves and S curves, studying the concept of expertise, right? And I was like, where's that coming from? I thought my phone was ringing. Thanks. Anu Radio is in the back. I need some crooked C. Anu Radio is in the background playing, some background music. Let's see. But yeah, he was talking about the idea of deliberate practice and how sometimes, I think his name was Malcolm Gladwell, who was famous for citing that most professionals, in order to become an expert, you need 10,000 hours of practice. And people sort of misconstrued that into thinking that, oh, I just need to do this for 10,000 hours and I'll be considered an expert. But he was like, no, you need deliberate practice, and a huge part of that is actually having a teacher, having someone to teach you and guide you. And a huge part of that process is receiving feedback, which I thought was also pretty interesting, because people often, Pete Wagner has often said that a lot of people fear feedback, so they try to stay stuck in the same mode. And by doing that, they don't really get a chance to grow. Okay, so we have some vertical lines, horizontal lines. Oh no, we don't have horizontals. What am I doing? Oh, that's why. This is one of the drills drawing horizontal lines in like a taper, so you get like a shading effect. And so they start off super close, and then you try to keep them equal or proportionate distance apart as you sort of go down the list. You widen them out a little bit. And that helps you with your shading. Even do cross hatching. Okay. And what was the other one? The other one was drawing 2 points. That's what it was. And again, it's another warm-up exercise. And the idea is not to get them perfect. The idea is just to get you practicing. And I've also seen, I saw one person who I'd learned this from. He did it one way, and Procure had sort of added to it and to the challenge. And he was saying, try to either start with or end with taper. So taper is just, we were talking about the element of edge. It's sort of like some of these lines here, where it may be sharp in the middle, but at the end it sort of tapers off, and gives sort of a very gradual end. Right, so that even helps a little bit more with line control. So I can start here and then just end off with like a taper. Draw a couple more lines, and then we can go through these different aspects and uses of lines. So as I said in the very first installment of the series, lines can be used to plot two different points, right? Man, that one was off. And it's very important also because you have the same principle playing out inside of mathematics. Let me see if I can plan this out. Y'all can see. I think it looks a little blurry on this end. There we go. Let's see if I can plan this out a little bit. So I'll start these off very close. And then I'll gradually space them out. But yeah, man, it was kind of surprising how much mathematics actually plays. I don't know why it was surprising, but how much mathematics actually plays in dealing with lines, which should be obvious. But I was always so averse to math in school, I didn't want to make the connection. But let's see, let's try them out. So as you can see, these lines are probably a little higher so you can see them. So these lines are a little closer together, and then they taper off. So let's see how that plays out. This one is a little longer. Oh. Whoops, it's supposed to go here. I'm not go there. Okay, cool. I need some more practice with my lines. Yeah, that looks horrible. Anyway, we experiment, right? All right, so going over some functions now. Lines, of course, we went over some of the uses of it. And I'm gonna go over it a little bit more, one more again. So firstly, lines are symbolic. And this is coming from Proko's video. And the example that he had given was the alphabet. All right, so of course you have alphabet like A or B or Aleph if you're dealing with Hebrew, or Bet. You know, you have certain symbols like in Portuguese, or you have some in Spanish. You know, you have different symbols, and they help us to learn. They help us to communicate, right? We're talking about lines being able to help you communicate. And of course, you have different symbols that come in the form of shapes. So immediately you think of a deck of cards there. You have numbers, of course. You know, maybe Roman numerals. So you get the picture, right? They can give you certain symbols. Some symbols are a little bit more important to pay attention to than others. Usually this is some sort of danger, right? Or this one. Don't enter. Or this is not allowed. right? So you have symbols like that. You also have contours, which we went over, which are the outlines. So with a contour, you have an outline of, let's say, a face. And we're going to get into these lines that I'm using here as well. All right, so that lets me know that's a person's head, you know. But speaking of these lines that I was talking about, you can also use construction lines. And these construction lines, some people like comment and say the drawing looks technical, you know, when you see lines like these. And that's the importance of having lines as well. Even lines like these where you have a perpendicular, where you just have a cross, you know, and doesn't necessarily have to be a cross. I mean, a straight up vertical cross, it could be something like that. But that lets you know what the orientation of a thing is, right? You have, this is what I learned from blah, 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 Alfonso, right? That's the done. So you have different levels of angles, and eventually you can get to the right angle, right? And these can all depict different planes. And it gets kind of wild when you start to put it together. He said that you can use them to determine where the placement of certain things go. So you have a nose, you have eyes, right? Which helps you. And you have mouth bell. And you may draw a line down here, and that lets you know there's an ear over here. You know, eyebrows up here, you get the picture. So these lines help you out in terms of construction, right? There's a method of drawing here. It's called the Loomis method, and it's a series of construction lines again. Draw a circle, and you cut it off. Like, let's say you're cutting off a piece of. You know, you cut something off here. You cut the side of the head off. So now you got that. And then you have what's called center line.
Very good indeed.
Now listen to me.
That's it. What is it? You know what that is? What is this called?
Well, it's very simple to explain.
Listen closely.
Oh, this is a wonderful hip-hop.
Okay, so you can make a perpendicular here, and you have what's called the center line, right? And trust me, we're gonna go through a bunch of different lines. I could go to, like, I could do this drawing alone and show you a bunch of different lines, right? But let's say this is called. Let me get rid of this. Bad example, anyway. Okay, so this is called. Okay, this is called a cross contour. I don't know if you can see those S's. So it's different from a contour. The contour shows you the outline of the drawing. A cross contour goes across the form. And these are helpful for, let's say, if I have a round or cylindrical shape. All right, so if I have two parallel lines here, and these are my two ends, I would need the cross contour to help me to give an example of this is how it's shaped. This is how it's shaped. You know, if I have a box, I can just say, okay, that's the plane right there. These vertical and horizontal lines, that shows you the surface. But this shows you a different type of surface, right? So if I have, let's say, another cylinder leaning against this, let's say it's leaning up here, right? Two more parallel lines. So if I have two parallel lines here, and parallel lines are lines going in the same direction. Put that over here too. I'm just going over the different types of lines, right? And this is what they look like in practice. I hope I spelled parallel right. I don't think I did. I always spelled that word wrong ever since I was in school. I always put the second L in the wrong place. I ain't willing no spelling bees sometimes soon. Parallel. Right? So parallel lines. P's gonna be period even. Who else is that? My finger's blocking my screen. Oh, Emanaya. P's Emanaya. Yeah, so if I have a cylinder leaning on top of another one, and these are two shapes in space, it would be safe to say that the shadow, like if the light source is over here, the sun is shining from over here, right? Would be safe to say that a shadow would be in this area. But if I have the shadow coming from here, I can't necessarily just project the shadow like straight. Right? So this can show that there's a shadow here. Sure. And you can tell that there's a dark spot right under here. And there's no light getting there. But in order to show the form, it would be better to have this line or the shape of the shadow wrap around the form. And this is where your cross contour comes in handy, because now it looks like the shape is still rounded. Right? Even if I wanted to get more fancy, let's say there was, I don't know, brick wall or something else. Get that vertical line, right? So let's say there's a backdrop there. And of course you have the parallel lines and you have the top of your cylinder. You can move that too. And the trick to construction lines too is you always make sure that they're easy to erase, because they're not there to stay. They're only there to help you to construct stuff. Just like if you're building a house, you don't necessarily want all of the metal and the forms sticking around. You want to get rid of them, right? So this is my cross contour. This is my shadow. And again, anyone can just feel free to jump in. And if you have your drawing stuff ready, you could definitely ask questions or join in. Because I'm chiefly, this isn't a class, I'm just exploring these concepts, right? And eventually I will be able to teach the class once I've practiced them deliberately, as I was talking about earlier. So this shadow can also be projected here, right? But the shadow would typically go with the axis of the surface. So it may look something like this. And that just shows you the differences of the planes that we're on. Right, this plane is going straight up and down, so that's the shape that the shadow is cast on. But this has a cross contour or a rounded shape, so this lets you know that this is a round object. Right, the shadow takes the shape of the object that it's being cast on more than it does the object that it's being cast from. Okay, so that's another thing to pay attention to. Lines can also be used to measure. So remember this Loomis method over here. So let's say you have this axis here. I have this cross contour here, sure, but I also have this line coming down here. And this is what you may call the center line. The center line depicts the center of the object. But this is at a certain angle. So you're gonna see like the side of the face. You're not necessarily going to see the full frontal, and a little bit of the eye is going to be showing over here too. So I already know that I may have an eye poking out over here, you know, maybe a cheek or something like that. But the center line, let's say if I drew a face straight on, your center line comes straight to the center. And then, of course, a perpendicular line helps me to know, okay, this is where the eyes go, right? This is basically the brow ridge, or the line that cuts through the eyes. So that's my eye there, that's my eye there. This is where the nose is going to be. You just put a little triangle there to the nose, and a little further down is where the mouth. You gotta leave room for the philtrum and everything like that. You have the center of the mouth and leave room for the top lip, bottom lip. Like you can use all of these different things to measure from now. And I could do a similar thing here. Right? So this is my perpendicular. Here, that's my little cross to let me know this is the plane that the face is on, basically. Which is why construction lines are helpful too, because it lets me know, okay, this is the plane here, and eventually the plane changes, right? And this contour line lets me know that the plane changes too. So maybe I could put that up a little bit. The cool thing about this method too, this is why you need, let me switch to the stencil. This is why you need to draw your construction lines much lighter, but we rock with it. The cool thing about these perpendicular lines too is they can help you to sort of turn the head on an axis. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. I can draw the same triangle here. Okay, yeah, you can still see the line. I could draw the same circle here. I think that's a triangle, which is wrong. But I could draw the same circle. This lets me know that's basically the direction that the face is going. You know, that's the vertical, that's the horizontal. I know the face is somewhere over here. But I can turn that like so. And now the person is actually, I can draw them looking downwards, right? I can draw their head like so. If you can still see, I think you can. It's a little lighter. I'll use the darker pencil. Yeah, so that's a little better. So because this is my vertical line, I know the x-axis, y-axis. I'm not good with math. I think x-axis is vertical, right? I think it's very good. Yeah, it's the y-axis. The x-axis is horizontal. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. Anyway, so this is your y-axis and this is your x-axis. All right, getting real technical. And I could just wrap this around like so. I can put my ears over here. And I can even pull my jaw down from this line. And since this is the x-axis, it turns here. So I know that this is where the chin goes, right? Because this goes straight through. This is where your chin goes. And then it can start going up on the y-axis, right? And I know that this plane is where the face is facing, right? And this plane over here is where the side plane is. This is the other side of the face, right? So willfully this is making sense to everyone I'm explaining it to, because as I explain it, it makes more sense to me. All right, so yeah, that's one of the uses of construction lines. And you have the cross contours. You also have your vertical and your horizontal. You have your X and Y axis. And speaking of lines of axis, you can also think of it like, again, just going off of the lessons that I've watched and studied over the strong end. Let's say go with another circle, but this is the Earth. Right, so the reason lines of axis are important is because lines of axis show you, similar to this perpendicular cross here, they show you the orientation of the shape. So you have, let's say you have something like this. This would be the axis of the Earth. And you think of this line going straight through, right? And this lets you know, okay, the Earth is technically upright. So this is North Pole. But if I wanted to tip the Earth on its axis, I could draw another circle. And now you have an axis that's tipped to the right. Right. So now you know this, similar to here, you can see that the axis is tipped slightly to the right. And that lets me determine, okay, this is the direction that I want my form to be facing. Right. Similar to even here, I can draw a line coming from here and say, this is the direction that he is facing. Right, and now I know, okay, this is where he's facing. I could, but typically with a lot of artists, you'll see them also foregoing construction lines. Sometimes because they think it looks ugly, other times because they can visualize it because they've been doing it for so long. I can just see the construction lines, but it is very good because you can use lines for measurement as well. I know that the eyes and the tip of the ears typically line up, right? And I know that there's a certain shape around the face. Like if I were to measure, let me choose a larger space up here. If I were to measure a face from up here, I would know that these are my eyes here, where I draw my perpendicular line here. So this is my face, and I know that I can just divide this into thirds. and then I can have a chin somewhere down there, and have a forehead up here or the hairline, right? I can divide this up into different proportions, and these proportions aren't exact, but I'm just giving an example of what you can use to measure these lines by. I can even put something up here so I know, okay, this third is the bottom of the nose, this third is the top of the brow, this one is, these ain't equal thirds, but this one is the hairline, right? And I know from this, I can draw my eyebrows up here, eyebrows up here. You know, this is the center of the eyes here. So I can just draw a circle, because eyes are just a circle anyway. I can draw circles here just to make a space saver. And then I know my nose is somewhere down here like this. Draw that little shape. Then I have my mouth here. This is the center of the mouth. Okay, cool. Top lip, bottom lip, bottom of the jaw. And I have my ears over here. All right. And I know because of my ears being down here, I can just draw these lines. And this will let me know, okay, this isn't just the front plane of the face anymore. You know, the plane is going to change shape now, or the face is going to change shape because it's going down a different plane or down a different axis. You know, and all of this is going on in an artist's mind while they're not necessarily thinking about it. You know what I mean? These are just things that after you've studied it for so long, and parallel lines are important too. I've been jacking them up, but parallel lines are super important for measurement because it lets you know, okay, these are supposed to be equal distances apart from each other, right? So once you have parallel lines that go on in the same direction and they're never supposed to meet, then you know your ears are somewhere down here. And you can use your ears to take your jaw. And I'm giving a very rough example, but this is an example of how you can use certain lines to measure, right? And I just know all of these things from drawing all kinds of faces. And it gives you a sort of intuitive feel. Now, since this ear is so visible, I know this one won't be. So in reality, if this ear is so visible and he's not looking straight on, he's actually looking more that way, which is super important right here, that observation, because sometimes you don't really know what kind of fundamental mistakes you're making if you don't go through the construction line process. So you can be almost to the end of a drawing, which for those of you who saw the Lupe Fiasco drawing, pieces to Yafe. For those of you who saw the Lupe Fiasco live, I drew him twice. Why did I draw him twice? Because the first drawing, the first attempt, I didn't have the correct foundation. I didn't have the correct framework or construction line down, and because of that, I failed that attempt. You know, and that can happen at the end of a drawing, which could kill you because you're looking at it like that nose is crooked, the eyes are facing the wrong direction. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's good. That look good." It's like, nah. You know, a lot of stuff is off, right? It's jacked up. Like this guy right here. So his lips are facing me and his nose are facing me, but his eyes are like over here. They're not spaced apart properly. You know what I mean? He's a mess. So it's very important to learn your construction lines, learn your proportions, learn anatomy, Look like that's an insult to Magneto. A black Magneto. Nah, you don't look like no black Magneto. Yeah. But yeah, that's one of the very important aspects of construction line. And I got some more space on this. I don't know if I want to do anything else on this thing. I think I went over most of the line types. I went over the symbolic aspect of it. I went over contours. We went over vertical and horizontal lines. We could do a little bit more of those because I kind of have, I don't know if on New Radio, I sent you a link in the background. I don't know if you have that link and you can pull it up and do like a split screen action. But I have it on my other screen. I'm looking at it, but it would be cool if you all could look at it too. I actually dug this up from years and years ago of practice when I used to practice drawing figures. And I thought it would be cool to use again. But it was last minute, as usual. But I thought I could use it again in terms of showing you all the other aspects of lines, which is gesture, right? Yeah, so you remember in Titanic when Rose was like, draw me like one of your French girls? Yeah, typically when you do a live sketch or live drawing of a person, you would start off with gesture line, right? Or a gesture drawing. And the gesture just lets you know the flow of energy that is going through a person, like whatever their pose may be. You have gestures and you have gesture lines and you also have lines of action, which help you out too. So let's say if I want to draw someone stretching, I'm like sitting on the floor and stretching. I'm looking at a reference right now. So this website is called 30 Second Poses. And just like it says, they show you poses in 30 seconds, right? And you have 30 seconds to draw them. And I used to practice these a lot. But let's see. I could draw that. That's like a basic gesture line. I can also do something like that. And that helps me to easily say, okay, that's the relationship of the leg. And then you have another leg coming up like that. And then you may have the head and the arms going up like that. All right, so these are gestures. You can tell, like, sort of, that it's a person getting a nice little stretching. And this just gives me all the information I need to complete a drawing. All right. And gestures are super addictive once you start, because I don't know, you just want to keep going once you get in the flow of it. And the more you do them, the better you get, which is another cool thing too. But yeah, it's called Pose Maniacs. That's the name of the website. And you can do, they start you off with 30 seconds, but you can go up to like a minute, 2 minutes. You can set how many poses you want. You can set if you want it to be male or female. And it really helps you a lot. So this is the screen. This is what's on the screen. They even show different muscle groups. Yeah, go to another one. I don't know why they keep showing these weird poses. Yeah, some of the poses you got to flick through. It's like I don't want to draw that. You know what I mean? But I look like a Spider-Man pose. Yeah, you got to jump kick someone. Matrix. I actually look like Aki Zach pose. Anytime he take a picture, he always does the Trinity thing. Crane style. Yeah, let's see the next one. I just want to see one with a nice, clean, obvious line of action. That's all right. So let's say his line of action or the gesture line would be something like that, right? And it's like, how the heck do you get that drawing from this one line, right? But that not only lets me know the direction his spine is going, but his head is here. I can use horizontal lines to say, if you could on radio, go back to the beginning, the main menu, and lengthen the amount of time. By the time I finish explaining what's going on, you got another you got another pose going on. But let's see, because I have this line of action, let me see if I could memorize or make something up. Let's say it's something like that. So you're going for the tomahawk slam. This is why it's good to have imagination too. Jordan. Okay, cool. So I get to do all of that just from having a few basic lines. I can always use like basic shapes to show let's see, how's this back bend then? Small of this back would be like that. So it would be like so. And then let me do that, something like that. So this is where construction lines can also mess you up. Someone's a drop kick. This is where construction lines can mess you up too if you don't have a good enough knowledge of anatomy in your head, and I do not. I'll let you know that right now. So, but that's part of the sketching series, is going back and showing up some of my weaknesses. Because I don't like draw faces because it's my favorite thing to draw. It is, but I'd also like to be able to draw figures, out of my head. But I don't typically do it because I don't do these types of practices as often as I used to. I don't know if Anu Radio is gone with the poses, because I wanted you all to be able to see what I was drawing as opposed to just me. Like, you wouldn't know if I'm making stuff up. But yeah, those are gesture lines. This dude look like he's, I don't know what he's doing. Let's see. How's the time looking? Is it still 30 seconds? Nah, you want to use the stick figures, Sister Yafik. This is what the stick figures are actually for. You know, and that gesture is just there to help you out with okay, I can see that the hip is like this. And I just used cubes. Okay, so let's say this box is his hip. And I'm just gonna attach the limb right here. And attach another limb right there. Attach another limb right there. Try to get them lines right. And then get this big old trunk. Chest somewhere there. Chest assist. And then you got an arm attached like right here. You got a big old head right there. Yeah, so besides the sexual harassment case that this guy's gonna catch, you know, sorry about that, bro. It's like a basic depiction of what he was doing, right? What's his other arm doing? His other arm is doing this. I don't know what that means, but he's doing it. Right? The simple sort of geometric representation of do a little triangle there for the foot stem. It actually looks like a dunk. All right, so you got different gesture lines, and you can make better use of them too. If you're showing the musculature and everything, or the way his spine bends, you know, and we can go to the next pose. So what else we got? I hope they don't show nobody. They love to shove this camera up these mannequins' butt for some reason. Say advanced stick figure. Okay, so let's go with the stick figure, right? And we can leave that pause there for now. You can remove your screen, but leave that pause there. We'll come back to this figure, Sister Yamina. Okay, so with the human form, remember we have a couple of different shapes or segments, but typically you have the head, right? You have the torso, you have the hip, and then we have two legs, which consist of a thigh, a knee, your calf, and your feet. Right. So if you are drawn along, you know, you draw along with that. And of course, you have your shoulders, and then bicep, forearm, hand, bicep, forearm, hand. Right? Those are the basic segments that you're looking at in stick figure form. You have head, shoulder, arm, torso, hip, leg, leg. Or if you want to get fancy, thigh, calf, which would have to indicate some sort of knee action, thigh, calf, right? If you want to indicate any type of joint. You know, not to say that stick figures can't be dynamic or pose worthy. You know, let's see. If I draw this guy, his arm is straight up, his head is like that. His shoulder would be something like that. And his other arm would be like that, I guess. And you have the spine. You can have this line indicating the hip. And then this leg will come out. And this leg will go back here. Something like that. Right? But it looks weird without the joints, you know, and I'm not good enough to make it, you know, I'm not good enough to come full circle yet. You know, you come full circle and your stick figures look better than some people's figures. So, oops. Not doing my camera. All right, so you have this figure here, and you can do a couple of things with this. You can make it cylindrical. So let's say I have a head here, shoulders, and then I have like a box to say this is the upper body. I have another box, say this is torso, and I have a couple of cylinders, maybe, like I did here, to show these are the legs. This is the other part of the leg. And the foot stem. Right, you could do something similar like that. This would be the arms. More hat. Right? Even if you wanted to show an elbow bend, cylinder. Hat. Right, and you can get used to it, playing around with it more and more. So, now that I got that out of the way, we also have to realize too that the human body, it is not symmetrical, but it is balanced. So you have lines of symmetry, which means this is symmetrical, but you may have something like this, where it may not be symmetrical, but it is balanced. Right, because the center line that goes through them both, that goes through this one, and the center line that goes through this one, they're not like lopsided, you know what I mean? So these two can still balance each other out. And it's similar with the human body, where all of this is still dealing with lines. You have the head here, which is shaped like this. Then you have the neck, which is typically extruded out a little bit. Then you have the torso, which is typically like that. Then you have the hips, so like this. And then you have the knees. But this would bend back here. And then you got the foot stem. And all of this still looks symmetrical, right? Because the center line that goes through it, let me see if I can draw a straight line, straight line. Let's see. I had them in the first eye, but that's the center line that goes through your body. So even though you have some lines that offset each other, right? So your body may come like this. These lines still balance each other out, and you want to always keep that aspect of balance in mind whenever you're drawing any type of pose. It has to be present in all of them. All right, so without further ado, let's go back to the gesture. Just Yamina. And I don't know, send me a smoke signal in the chat if any of this is making sense or if I'm moving too fast. You can always come back and do a little bit of drawing, but I'm trying to reduce the amount of time I'm on live because of mental fatigue of some of the viewers, and we had a long day. And I appreciate y'all coming out. You could always catch the replay. Okay, I can see. I think I can see. I'll draw what I see. Okay. So you have a face. You have shoulders, one in this direction, and the face is looking. Remember that axis. Face is looking in this direction here. So look like, I don't know why I made it look like a bird, but the face is going in that direction. Body is facing this direction. Right? So it's not symmetrical, but it is balanced. And you have shoulders. I think I see arms. So this is her torso, which I'll just, this is the center line of her torso. And this would be the gesture line of her torso. So it's coming out like that. So that would be a gesture line. That's the general flow of energy, even though it does come more like that. All right, so I can follow the flow of this now. And let's see. Because this is a rounded figure, center line would be rounded as well. And it helps me to see where her spine is. Her hips. Well, that's a weird angle. The hips are like this. I think. That is much more helpful. Okay, so this is the center line. This is the chest. Chest plural. And have the shoulder coming here. I assume you can't see the top of the shoulder. And this would be the next part of her rib cage. Stomach is just coming out like that. And helps me to see that cylinder would be her leg. And you have this muscle here, of course. And I'm not trying to get it completely accurate. I'm just trying to follow the gesture. Because gesture lines are very key for putting down information. And also, you gotta get used to doing those longest lines as well. Oh, that zoomed out version really had me confused. Yeah, so it's more like that. She oxidized, another layer here. Comes like that. And this is nasty. This is not looking good. Yeah, so these proportions all over the place. And because my construction lines are so dark, it's not that bad. I'll play with it a little bit. So since I know her face is coming this way, yeah, everything like that. Call it Susan. Turn a museum, send him $50,000. Okay, let's see the next one. Let's call that one a warm up. I'm only drawing this dark pencil so y'all can see it too. Let's see the next page. Pose. I think I can do like 2 more. Oh, that's not helpful. Come up with names for these poses. We call that one duck crack. Let's see if we can go find another one. Oh yeah, definitely. Give me a cue eating. Bring your pencils on through. Willfully, I can make this a very integrative series and use principles from previous lessons to move on to the next lesson. Let's see another pose. I'm trying to find a pose that would be feasible to draw for all the stick people folk. This one, nah. Just nah. Okay. You're looking real godlike in that pose. Yeah, it looks simple enough too. So let's see. We have a stick figure for you. Right. Godly stick figure. Okay, cool. That's how you feel when you've been in the bathroom for 35, 45 minutes. You just got out. Feel 20 pounds lighter. Okay. Uh-oh. Screen change. I don't know what happened. Okay, there we go. So, head. Shoulder. Center line. Waist. Let's see. That's not the center line because his head is up here. So if I know the shape of that, it's coming like that. And this is actually the center line here, not this. I guess it's it's a good thing that I mumble when I'm measuring stuff. So it's all the trapeziuses. And the shoulders, I just want to show quick cylinders, and those cross contour lines come in handy for that. And then that's another cylinder there, showing the change in direction of the arms. The godly hands outstretched. And shoulder. He look like he just spitting. Greatest monologue of all time. Oh, we got Sister Yafe in the house. I don't know if she meant to hit that or not.
Yes, I did.
Please, Sister Yafe.
I don't know
Stick
what
figure champion.
it's not. This is what I got.
Okay, we can work with that. You can work with that. Okay, that's Sister Yamina, could you remove your screen for a second? Let's see it a little closer up.
I'm sorry, I have beauty stuff everywhere. Sorry.
Hey, you're in a creative space. All right, let's see what you got going on. I moved my screen and all.
Okay, so I figured out how to do him. He might be a little wide in the hips, but you know.
You ain't about to give birth. You sure that's a him?
No, maybe not. Just doing the robot here, the arms.
Mm-hmm.
The arms. And I
Just
I don't
chilling.
know. I think my curves here are too deep. I don't know.
It looks cool, though. It looks like a good gesture line. If you can actually follow the gesture line, it would give you a really cool pose. But for the pose you were going for, yeah, it was too wide.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't make mistakes. We make happy accidents.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
the one now I'm not sure if I know how to do that one.
You need keep going. Keep going. I have an entire 2 or 3 sketchbooks with just these drawings, 30 seconds each. And my first set looked like the guy who's doing the robot. You know, it just takes practice and repetition, which is why that website is so cool, because you can set your practice time. You can set how many poses are in a set. You know, that you could do a set of 10 and 30 seconds for each drawing, or you could do a set of 10 and 2 minutes for each drawing. You know, and that'll just test you to keep going, so you don't try to get in perfectionism more. Like I was just getting into before you came in and with the save. I was about to put a shirt on him, and I didn't even draw his legs yet.
Okay, so
You know,
I don't. So the gesture lines is like the T in the middle, like
the gesture line is a very rough, not rough, but a very smooth transition through the form. It's a line that flows through the form, and it's very difficult to explain when you haven't mastered it yet, because I haven't. And I really want to get it though, because it seems to make drawing poses a lot easier when I see other people use it. But let's say, I don't know. I can't even draw that out my head. I think I'll be able to find one. Eventually I'll be able to find one. Not this time though. And we're getting close to the end too. Let's see, gesture line. Let's say if someone was pointing. Let's say if I just did someone pointing, right? I would draw them like this. Like head, shoulders, and then just pointing. Right, that's how I would draw it. And then I would draw something stiff down here. But if I draw a gesture line, like right away, I could play with that line now and conform or shape my form around this line. And it can lead to a more dynamic pose. Like exaggerated, just running out. Like you didn't have to do all at the point. Right, so let's say if the guy was here and his shoulders are like this and his chest pokes out and his hips are bent and that's his foot over here and his elbows like this. And his other arm comes out like that. So these is, I don't know, tiny hips, I guess. That's his torso. Like you doing too much with this pose. You could just point, right? But you gotta lean into it and everything because you're trying to follow this one gesture.
So that's the gesture line, the curve.
Right, because it's the main line that shows you the main flow of how the pose is moving. Even if I do another one, if I did another one like this, and let's say this is the hand up here. And it flows down, and that's the elbow. And this is let's say the head up here. And shoulders like that. Other arm is down here. And a whole back flows almost with the line. So her torso is down here. And she's, I don't know, ballerina, right? Bottom of a shoe. And she's on a pose like that. Right?
Looks like a pose.
Yeah, so let me see if I can get this in the camera. Yeah, so you can see the gesture like that. Obviously, it could be much more fluid or flowy, but that's the basics of the gesture line. It helps you to understand just how the energy of the picture flows. This is the most extended part of the foot, most extended part of the arm. So obviously, all of your energy is concentrated on these 2 points.
Okay.
Okay, and that's like my rough explanation.
I don't know. I think this one. That's what I got.
Let me move this thing out of the way because I gotta get a better stand for this thing because it covers half my screen, so I can't see from the middle of the screen to the right.
The ballerina is a little cut in half. She don't have no feet. And
It looks like cave paintings. I can see what's going on though. But that's typically, like, if you think about cave paintings, they use gesture lines and contours. Contours would be the outline. That's what they typically use. Like, all I'm trying to say is it was an elephant. You know, we caught an elephant this big today. That's all I'm trying to say. I ain't trying to put nothing fancy on it. No spin. I'm trying to show you how much hair that. All I know is this thing was big as hell. And I'll draw some people next to it so you know how big it was. And that's it. You know.
It's the people. This is
Yeah. But again, once you get good at lines, you can use them to measure, you can use them to outline, you can use them to even make poses that make sense. None of my poses made sense. So I gotta work on them because all of them still look like they're made out of wooden figures. They're super, super stiff. You know, but I am gonna cruise it out here because it is getting kind of late, and I'm trying to cut down on the length of these lives. It's like 2 hours. I didn't use up all my StreamYard 3 hours. I got like 3 hours left for recording before you gotta start deleting stuff. So yeah, man. I think as we yeah, man, no problem. Give thanks for joining in, and I would encourage you to definitely keep practicing as I keep practicing, you know, and we just keep compiling all of these different tools and put it all together. You know what I mean? And all of that comes from deliberate practice. The Chief Yuya had recommended a book, by the way, and I'm terrible remembering titles and names, which is bad. What kind of artist doesn't remember stuff like that? But the book is called 365 Days of Discipline. That was my best shot. I'm pulling it up now. And yeah, that was close. 365 Days with Self-Discipline. I got the audiobook on Audible, but it's really cool for if you want to work on your self-discipline or focusing on practice. I'll put some other links in the chat as well that deal with deliberate practice, and of course the links to the 2 videos that I referenced when I was getting all of this information online and what you can use them for. They went over it in much more detail, and their example sketches were much cleaner than mine. And one was using pen, you know, which is like stunning. But yeah, man. Everybody, give thanks for coming through. Give thanks to Yafi for joining on this one. Shout out to Himanaya who showed up not last strong because you know I was getting ganked. I was getting jumped from my professor and my professors and my exams, my final exams. You know, but the strong before Himanaya came through. So yeah, man. Getting better. You know, getting on these elements. And I will see you all in the fort next Tuesday, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. Until this time, peace.